Oh, and spoilers. Welcome to the channel, I'm Hayes, I talk movies all day, so subscribe right now if you want to be entertained. And today, I want to talk about Chicken Run, the claymation movie from 2000 that, despite the title, has nothing to do with trying to find a KFC still open at 12 AM. Anyway, how this works is I'm going to go through the movie, point out all the reasons I can find as to why it's trash, and then at the end, drop a few final thoughts. So the movie starts off with some hens trying to escape a farm, and I guess the plan was to go underneath the fence, but maybe the plan should have been dig a bigger hole. Also, why try to escape now? Maybe wait until all the humans have gone to sleep? Because honestly, it's not a bad plan, it just needs a little refinement. This movie could have been like 3 minutes. Max. So I get that Mr. Tweedy felt embarrassed by this ginger chick, but why not just send her to the abattoir or feed her to the dogs instead of throwing money into the coal bin, talking about I'll teach you to make a fool out of me. Yeah, I think she already knows how to make a fool out of you. That's how we got here. This movie could have been like 5 minutes. Max. Hold up. So this guy's name is Mr. Tweedy, and this is Tweedy's farm. So it's his farm, or at least part ownership. In any case, why is he taking orders from this lady? Nah, they're gonna need to explain that one. True say though, I'm gonna have to give props for this, because even though it might look a little weird, chickens can grow to about 60 centimeters, sometimes even taller than that. So yeah, this is actually pretty accurate. I like that Ginger got out of the coal bin and went straight back to planning their escape. But two things. One, why didn't no one try to get her out? Nah, Ginger should just leave them behind. They obviously don't care about her that much. And B, why are they still trying to execute the plan with Mr. Tweedy right there? They ain't learned their lesson? Or is this more like a Princess Peach situation? Or maybe the real reason the plan failed is because if you turn 360 degrees, you'll just be facing the same direction as before. Or maybe it's because calculating Mr. Tweedy's energy was ultimately an exercise in futility. Anyway, here's the thing. These chickens can write, draw, and build things, so why can't they just build a ladder and pick the lock on the fence? And why does Mr. Tweedy keep throwing Ginger in the coal bin? It's clearly not solving the problem. This movie could have been like, you know what, I've said that enough for one video.
Back from holiday?
I wasn't on holiday, Babs. I was in solitary confinement.
It's nice to get a bit of time to yourself, isn't it?
I like Babs. Gotta stay positive, people. Gotta stay positive.
Is Edwin off on holiday?
Also, if you put that chicken in some sauce, that would make an Edwina curry. By the way, if you got that joke, you should probably make sure your pension is in order, cause you old. You know, Nick and Fetcher being thieves is pretty spot on since rats do actually steal from farms. But here's the thing, rats do actually steal from farms. So just go steal the eggs. What are you trying to make deals for? Also, Ginger said their eggs are too valuable to trade, presumably because they need them for the farmers to count. Okay, but don't you want to get out of there? I'm just saying, you can't have that much faith in your old plan if you're not even willing to trade some eggs. There are so many things wrong with this image, but perhaps the biggest thing is that two people ate that chicken clean off the bone, but didn't touch the potato and sprouts. Listen, I like chicken too, one of my favorite things to eat, but no excuses for wasting food like that. Also, why are they sitting down doing whatever they're doing when obviously they haven't even cleared the table yet? Those potatoes and sprouts can go in the fridge, the chicken bone in the food bin, or regular bin if you don't have a food bin. And what's your damn place? There's 2 adults there. This is not okay behavior. And look how intact that chicken skeleton is. That means they took the time to meticulously remove all the meat from the bone, but they can't drink neatly out the cups? Make it make sense. Hold up. Are these two married? Mate, you better divorce this bitch and take your farm back. I mean, to be fair, Mr. Tweedy probably can't run a farm, but I don't know who needs to hear this, but it is far better to fail on your own than succeed with an abuser. So at this point, you might be wondering what a rooster is doing in an egg farm when roosters don't lay eggs, nor are they needed for hens to produce eggs. However, what you might not know is that roosters are natural protectors of hens, so Fowler being a former RAF chicken actually tracks pretty well. That said, they're on a farm, they have huts and fences plus guard dogs, so clearly he ain't protecting nothing or no one. He's actually just pretty useless. You know, at first I thought, how is this guy so dumb that he can't tell the difference between a teapot and a chicken? But then I remembered he's in an abusive relationship and that can have you second guessing your own eyes. Honestly, I actually feel sorry for Mr. Tweedy. He's the real victim here.
So laying eggs all your life and then getting plucked, stuffed and roasted is good enough for you, is it?
It's a living.
Babs is a treasure. As long as Babs survives this movie, I'm good. But here's the thing, this movie's been on for nearly 20 minutes and they've made at least a few references to slavery. But what they haven't done is shown what's so bad about the farm. I mean, these chickens got clothes, food, education, access to equipment and resources, and all they gotta do is lay some eggs, something that they do naturally anyway. And by the way, those eggs would be infertile, so it's not like they're giving away their children. I'm just saying, this is starting to come across like a vegan propaganda movie. Because apart from Mrs. Tweedy being an abusive bitch towards her husband, there ain't nothing bad about this farm. Where did that poster come from? Cause Rocky definitely didn't have it when he got blasted out the cannon. Also, were we supposed to believe that Rocky is a flying rooster? Cause you can actually hear the cannon being fired. So...
You took a rather nasty fall.
And sprained the interior tendon connecting your radius to your humerus. I gave her a wee bit of a tweak, Jimmy, and wrapped her up.
Was that English?
No. Sorry, not sorry, but no. Americans are not allowed to take the piss out of Scottish accents. Only English people are allowed to take the piss out of Scottish accents, okay? But here's the thing, I get that the hens are excited about the prospects of Rocky teaching them how to fly, but surely with all their knowledge plus the fact they live with a rooster, surely they already know roosters can't fly. Well, more specifically, chickens can't fly far. What's interesting though is that they can fly to about a height of 10 feet and a distance of around 40 feet. And considering there's no way that fence is 10 foot high, this is looking like a Princess Peach situation. Anyway, if we assume that not a one of them heard the cannon firing and only Ginger saw Rocky flying, shouldn't the first question they should be asking Rocky be, how exactly did you manage to defy the laws of science? So it turns out that Rocky is in a circus and is trying to escape his master. So when he said he's from the land of the free and the home of the brave,
That was a fucking lie.
or at the very least he wasn't referring to himself. In any case, it is exactly this point Ginger should have realized Rocky is perhaps even more useless than Fowler. So remember how I said roosters are natural protectors of hens? Well, one of the ways they do that is they don't sleep, they roost. And they do that high up to watch out for predators. And yet here we have two roosters arguing over a side of the bed. Yeah, these guys are pretty useless. Anyway, Rocky is teaching them how to fly, and I ain't trying to body shame nobody or nothing, but do they have a plan of how they're gonna trick Mrs. Tweedy into, not noticing the difference? Because they probably should. It seems super obvious now, but it's honestly taken me this long to realize that chickens' eyes are not on the front, they're on the side of their head. Man, this whole movie is bullshit. Anyway, Mrs. Tweedy calls Mr. Tweedy Mr. Tweedy. Now, I was assuming they're married because earlier Mr. Tweedy referred to her as love, but I guess they could be siblings. In any case, why does she call him Mr. Tweedy? Or is Mr. Tweedy like his whole first name? Like maybe his full name is Mr. Tweedy Tweedy. Yeah, they're gonna have to explain that one. Okay, so I get the joke here is that Mac's accent is difficult to understand, but come on, she said thrust 4 times, twice just a word on its own, so if he can't understand that, then use a wee bampot. And speaking of wee bampots, surely the rats know roosters don't lay eggs, right? I mean, they're not exactly new to the farm. Also, what exactly does Nick and Fetcher want with the eggs? I mean, I know rats would eat anything, but have you ever seen a rat try to eat a chicken egg? They struggle if they ever eat it at all. So is wanting the eggs less about food and more about deals with other farms? Is there a whole senate that regulates the Inter-Farm Trade Federation? Are there trade disputes, opposing factions, and ancient tales of a chosen one coming to bring balance and order? Because maybe they should be telling that story instead. Anyway, Ginger disapproves of Rocky lying to the rats about the eggs, but technically he didn't lie. And Ginger was right there the whole time, so really, she's an accomplice. I guess they are married after all. Well, actually, she could still be his sister. Just saying.
Babs stops laying, but they don't take her to the chop, and now they're giving us extra food. Don't you see what's happening? They're fattening us up. They're going to kill us all.
Ugh, you know those people who are always telling you what you should and shouldn't eat? Oh, this is bad for you, this is bad for you. Oh, shut up. Just let me enjoy my slow death in peace.
Look, I'm going with it.
You know what? I gots to keep it real, because this is just true. Real talk. Their hips and the booty don't lie. But here's the thing, Rocky said if you want to motivate someone, don't mention death. Then he plays a song where the lyrics are, I don't care if I die. And they all look pretty motivated to me, so clearly...
That was a fucking lie.
Actually, I gotta be fair, when Mrs. Tweedy said she wanted all the chickens as fat as Babs, they didn't really seem to understand her. So perhaps, this is kinda like LOLO, where we hear English, but they're actually speaking chicken-ish. And if that's the case, then it's kind of a cruel irony that these freedom-seeking chickens are all dancing to a song written by a member of ISIS. But still, that beat though. Hold up, so that whole thing was for a chicken pie machine? Why? I mean, I get that this is set in the olden days, but surely a machine that size post-Second World War would be way too expensive to run, which would in turn mean an excessive markup on pies being produced, which means ain't nobody buying that. Mrs. Tweedy got hoodwinked, and it serves her right, cause she's a bitch. Anyway, I ain't no chicken pie machine expert or nothing, but shouldn't they kill the chicken first? Or at least, you know, take off that ginger chick's clothes?
Oh, right. Brilliant.
Yo, baby doll!
Rocky!
I'm coming!
Wait, what happened to It's Ginger? Nah, keep that same energy. Just because he's coming to rescue you, don't mean he gets to disrespect your name. Anyway, I guess this is Rocky's moment to show that he's at least not as useless as Fowler. I swear they only put one chicken in there. Why are there so many pies? So this chicken pie machine that's supposed to make them big money actually just wastes resources making chicken pies with no chicken. Now remember how Mrs. Tweedy scolded Mr. Tweedy for believing it's gonna make apple pies? Turns out that wasn't even that far off. So I reckon this is the part of the movie where we're supposed to be all like, oh no, he can't fly after all, whatever will they do? But for me, the much bigger question is, how did the bottom of the poster stick to the wall? The top part was hammered in, yet the bottom part just stays there? But for real though, if anything, this should give them even more hope, because they already know how to create thrust, they just need to adjust the angle and attempt it at a time when Mr. and Mrs. Tweedy aren't around. Alright, so I know that Fowler is a pretty useless rooster, but has it seriously taken them till now to ask about the RAF? Because that's a question that should have been asked long before this movie started. Yeah, this really is a Princess Peach situation. Okay, so they got this new gust of wind up their bums and still plan on flying out the farm. Now, putting aside the fact that this film has a very misleading title, when Ginger is giving everyone their roles, she tells Bunty to produce eggs, then tells the rats that they'll get one egg for every item on the list. There's at least 4 items on that list, assuming it's 1 egg per different sets of items and not 1 egg per individual item. That's 4 eggs. Now, you might be thinking, but Bunty can lay 5 eggs at a time. And yeah, true, but it takes hens on average 24 to 26 hours to produce 1 egg. And considering Bunty seems to be a more, shall we say, mature hen, those 5 eggs she laid, most likely an anomaly and not a normality. In any case, that's a lot of pressure to put on one hen to produce that many eggs. Also, what exactly is Ginger doing? This whole montage, all she did was pass a spanner, place a cog, and then spent the rest of the time barking orders at everyone else. All this time I've been talking about how useless Fowler is and Rocky was, I didn't even notice the covert uselessness that is Ginger. So let's ignore the fact that not only did Rocky manage to escape undetected, he also managed to find or make a chicken-sized tricycle while all the other chickens still haven't figured out how easy it is to get out the farm. Why is Mrs. Tweedy advertising her chicken pies where she hasn't even got her chicken machine to work yet? Are you dumb? Can't lie though, this scene is pretty cool. The music, the sense of now or never, it's done well. Mr. Tweedy didn't deserve that though. Also, Fowler saying the RAF don't let chickens fly planes was hilarious, cause you know, of course. duh. Also, it goes to show two things. One, had they bothered to speak with Fowler, they would have known about the RAF and the fact that he was a mascot and not a pilot a long time ago. And B, Fowler is useless. Just kick him off the crate already, man. Damn. Actually, let me take that back. Just a little bit. Because I guess in these final scenes of the movie, the two most useless chickens are doing something of value. Fowler is flying the crates and Ginger went solo to put the ramp back up. And even Rocky showed up to rescue Ginger. Although that could have been avoided had he just told him he couldn't fly in the first place. So really, this whole thing is his fault. Also, remember when Mr. Tweedy was saying that he thinks the chickens were up to something and Mrs. Tweedy was calling him all kinds of daft? Yet now when Mrs. Tweedy sees with her own two eyes that the chickens were indeed up to something, but shows no signs of being surprised or shocked by chickens with hands and fingers and teeth. Cause now I'm thinking Mrs. Tweedy knew all along that the chickens were up to something, but instead of helping Mr. Tweedy, she chose to gaslight him instead, which makes Mrs. Tweedy an even bigger bitch than I originally thought. So I get that Ginger moved her head out the way just in time, but after the cable was cut, Ginger was still holding both sides. Then are we supposed to believe that the chicken Ginger is strong enough to hold up a whole human woman with one wing? Bro, you're stretching this logic too far, man, I swear. Good for you, Mr. Tweedy. You don't need that kind of negativity in your life. Yeah, it looks cute in the movie, but if two chickens were to try and kiss like that, they'd probably kill each other, because their beaks are that sharp. So yeah, Ginger and Rocky died in this scene. So the movie ends with the chickens making it to their new home, which apparently is someone else's land they just stole. Also, how long have they been there? Because that's a lot of unexplained baby chicks. And it's only 2 male chickens, so was Rocky and Fowler just going to town on every hen in the village? You know what? It doesn't matter. Alright, so before I get into my final thoughts, if you liked this movie, check out these movies. So here's the thing, I try to recommend movies that are somewhat related to the film I'm talking about, and although there are a ton of movies out there about chickens, I ain't seen none of them, and I don't want to recommend something I haven't seen. So yeah, Rocky 2 because Rocky chases a chicken, Rocky 3 because it's the greatest Rocky movie of all time, and Creed because Rocky makes Adonis chase a chicken. Oh, and they all have a character called Rocky in them. So, yeah. Okay, so let's talk about Chicken Run. Now, some of you already know this, but for those that don't, yes, I like to make fun of movies. I like to make jokes and generally just take the piss. Not all movies I make a why it's trash video on I think are trash movies. In fact, I'd say most of them I actually like. But no matter how good a movie is, let's keep it real. Most movies be doing some dumbass things, and that's where I come in, to point and laugh. Now that said, I also believe that it's not enough to just make fun of someone else's hard work. You gotta be prepared to back up what you're saying or give them their flowers, which is why I also like to do these final thoughts at the end to either clarify the things I said or just talk about the movie in a less jokey way. So when it comes to Chicken Run, I feel like I just want to take back everything I said in this video because this movie is low-key brilliant. Well, maybe not everything I said. I mean, there really wasn't that much actual running. But for a light-hearted comedy film, this really hits all the points. It's funny, it's silly, it's dramatic where it needs to be, and it has a not so deep message about escaping persecution. And it also has the perhaps unintentional irony that it's a post-World War II anti-oppression film that stars Mel Gibson. But honestly, this was a hard film to make fun of because it's pretty well made. So I really hope you guys appreciate the depths of Google searches I had to do about chickens just so I could come here and be petty. I mean, I had to scroll down more than once. Like, who does that? Anyway, what I liked about Chicken Run is that it's a relatively simple film that came at a time when a lot of films were anything but. Amongst all the big action and plot twists and multi-layered stories and 3 other Mel Gibson movies, Chicken Run just said, let's try something different. These aren't chickens with special skills. Well, I mean, yeah, they do have special skills because they can talk, read, and write. But as far as the movie narrative goes, they're not like special ops, tactical solid snake types. They are, for all intents and purposes, just regular chickens. regular chickens in a bad situation and all odds stacked against them. All in all, it's a pretty basic plot. Even the setting is pretty simple. It's a farm, and not even a particularly busy one. But with that simplicity comes a charm that might have been lost otherwise, and allows them to create characters that represent different female archetypes. For example, Bunty, who's kinda like that old school British mum. She takes what she's given and makes the most of it. No complaining, no dilly-dallying, just get on with it best you can. Then there's Babs, who's kinda like the Nan. She doesn't always understand what's going on in this crazy new world, but she's always got a smile, nice words, and a cup of tea for you. Or a scarf in this case. Then Mac, who's kinda like the first one in the family to go to university and has the unspoken pressure to be the one to figure out all that scientific mumbo jumbo. And then of course Ginger, the leader. She ain't the smartest, she doesn't lay the most eggs, doesn't even knit. Probably. But Ginger is the most determined and has the natural ability of keeping the unit a unit. So there is this underlying meaning about not having to be some highly trained super badass to deal with the situation you're in. Just by having that determination, belief and desire, and even regular chickens can make a better life for themselves. Now that said, I'm glad this is just a movie because I'm gonna go get some fried chicken right now. So that's what I think of Chicken Run. What do you think of Chicken Run? Let me know down below, and while you're there, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop a suggestion if you don't mind.